Okay, everyone, here we are. Welcome. I am so excited to be doing this with you. And I'm going to ask you all to mute yourself if you can, because that way we're going to keep the call clean. And of course, we'll get to the place where we're going to be doing a lot of participation. And at that point, you're very welcome to unmute. But in between, if you can make sure you mute your line, that would be great. Okay. Sorry about that. I've been awake for a while. I just haven't talked very much. So my throat is a little crackly here and there. Okay. And you can all see my screen as we go along. Perfect. Excellent. Okay. So I am so excited to be doing this because this is something that I have dreamt of well, even well before the Gates to Soul Wisdom actually came into inspiration and being, because what I've been wanting to do is make human design accessible to people. And human design just has meant so much for me personally that I want to be able to share this with people so that you can yourself experience the benefit and the use and the growth. And as I mentioned, there's many different ways in how you can learn about human design. Many years ago, when I started, we all got our chart. I was part of a group. We were actually enrolled in a very different program, but we just got together and we just were puzzling ourselves. What does this mean? What does that mean? And just a little bit more. With Linda Bunnell, who is the president CEO of the International Human Design School, and she was connected to our group and started giving us some courses, which really got me super jazzed and really interested. And I shared charts with everybody that I knew. It was like, as soon as I met you, it was like, give me your birth information. Can I share some about this with you? And it was just so fun and so exciting. There was just such a fun energy around that kind of learning. So as I mentioned, human design is great. It's vast. And you've probably seen previous videos where you can just get an idea of the many different layers that are there. And one of the ways to learn about human design is, of course, through a reading, right? You have in a very short amount of time, you get a humongous amount of information. And then it's all about the integration, right? That's one way. Then the other way is classes, taking classes. That's how I started. I have some classes that are pre-recorded that you can do. But ultimately, where the rubber hits the road is when you start applying the information. So this is where the cards came in, or the app that's now there too, because with this information, you are able to access your own intuition and your own learning and your own experience, which then will give you the opportunity to start playing and integrating that information and find out what works for you. Ultimately, that's what human design is about, right? I can tell you all about your design, but it's not going to make a difference for you unless you actually use the information. And many people find that it has a lot of relevance for them. And the more you practice, the more you get in tune with those particular key points that really make the difference for you. And then what happens is that life starts to flow. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that life is flowing all the time. It doesn't mean that, when I'm on the freeway, all of a sudden, all the cars get out of my way and I'm just full on surfing and down the road. That's unfortunately not how it goes. But when things happen, it gives you an opportunity to check in and say, wait, this is not how my energy is supposed to be resisted or be diverted. what is going on. So it gives you more awareness, and it gives you specific tools from your design, and now with the cards, to be able to shift, to find the ways that work best for you to make the shift so that you can again realign and get into your flow. Yeah, so that's my hope for you, which for this very, very brief mini workshop is like huge, but we'll see what happens, right? This is more like an introduction, an opportunity to play, and we'll see what happens for you. All right. So many of you have already heard my story and how I got to human design. As I mentioned earlier, I started playing with it and taking classes. And then I got into a situation where I went through a divorce. And as you know, divorces are never happy times. Luckily, my ex-husband and I had a really good relationship in that we were able to move through the divorce in a really good way for our children and for ourselves. Um, that said, I suddenly found myself with a coaching business that was imploding because, you know, when you are in the field of personal growth and you've got a lot of stuff coming up for yourself, your attention needs to go towards that, and everything else kind of goes by the wayside. So here I was, two kids, no money, well, savings, but no more regular income, getting to the end of my savings, to the point where, thank God, I had an amazing friend who said, listen, if it comes to that point, you can always, you know, move in. We have a bedroom. You can have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So, you know, if it gets to that, luckily it didn't have to go that far, because during all that time, and especially around that last month where my money was really at the very, very end, I grabbed all my tools and I grabbed my human design. I was like, okay, I know this stuff works. Why, you know, what's the resistance? And I had this amazing insight that was part of my human design, and I started following that. And what happened was that I found a job that was able to allow me to take care of my kids and the rent and all those other expenses, childcare, you name it. I also made promotion. I got a raise within a month, and I made promotion within 3 months. And then I met a new man and we got married. We got engaged within 2 months and got married within 10 months. And we have been together married for 15 years now. So, you know, following your design kind of works. Yeah. So that's just an example of what can happen. You know, your mileage may vary. That's of course all dependent on you and your situation. Hopefully you'll never get to the place where I was, because it wasn't a happy place, and things are much, much better now. So all of that again to hopefully give you an idea of where you can go potentially with your experience of human design. And as I mentioned, today we're going to delve deeper into your personal experience of human design. So what I want to start with is a brief meditation, because today is a combination of mind. We're going to activate parts of your mind to be able to like use those components of the cards of the app. So you're definitely going to have to put your thinking cap on here and there. And I'm also going to ask you to tap into your heart, or that expanded awareness of you, that part that brings in the intuition. And then together you'll be able to get most of this, most of the learning out of this. So I want to take you through a brief meditation. So I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably. And if you want, you can go ahead and close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just take a couple of nice, easy breaths just a little deeper than you normally might. And just really bring your awareness to your body. Feel how you're maybe sitting in your chair or sitting on the ground, wherever you are, just how you are in your space. Feel how your back may be leaning against a chair or a pillow. And bring your awareness to what you might be hearing in your environment. There might be some birds. You hear my voice. And just notice that with your eyes closed, all of a sudden, all those other senses become more prevalent, including the sense of your inner experience. Now, some people find this inner experience is located in the area around their heart. And what I'd like you to do is bring your awareness to that inner experience. You may notice some thoughts here and there, and that's okay. Just allow the thoughts to come in and drift out as if they're clouds in a sky. And just drifting out. And you may notice that between those thoughts, there is a space. And as you bring your awareness to that space, you notice you can kind of dip into that. And as you bring your awareness to that space between the thoughts, it allows you to expand into that space. And your sense of that and you may notice that that sense of space that is outside of you expands out of your room, maybe your whole city. And maybe even further, your country. And maybe it even expands out and encompasses the whole world. And maybe it even expands out into space, to the edges of the universe. And I'm going to ask you to slowly bring your awareness back to the world, to your country, your city, your room. And I'm going to ask you to keep your awareness expanded a little bit, because we're going to be tapping into both this part of you and your more logical mind as well. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes and bring yourself back. Maybe move your shoulders a little bit and your hands, your toes, bring yourself back. All right. That was lovely. At least I hope it was lovely for you. It was lovely for me. Okay, and I noticed that I'm having some issues with the internet. My apologies for that. I'm hoping that you can still keep following and tracking along. If not, let me know and I can repeat, hopefully, what I was just saying. All right, so here's what we're going to be doing today. So in addition to the wonderful moment of kind of connecting with that other part of you, we are going to take a look at your chart and a couple of the most important components to start to make sense of you. Okay. And one of them is having to do with like you're one of the biggest parts of you that most likely you'll be able to recognize and start playing with immediately. And then we're also going to take a look at maybe how you are in relationships and love and within your career. So we're going to take a look at two of those, or those three components mostly today. And then on Saturday, we'll delve into some additional information. And I'll give more information about that as we get to the end. So for a moment, I'd like you to check in with yourself and what is it that you would like to get out of this class? And just create an intention for yourself. And if you want to share that in a word or a sentence in the chat, that would be great. I find that if you have a goal for yourself and what you want to get out of it, it helps you put the pieces together more easily. Clarity, says Starlight. Great. Yes. Clarity is always beautiful. Understanding. Nice. Okay. Relationships. Okay. Yeah. Any kind of relationship or any help with relationship. What else? Vision. Ooh, I like that. This is, by the way, a really good time for visioning. The planets are in this really yummy space to help us kind of expand our thinking. Clarity and direction. Nice. Great. Understanding. I'd like to explore myself even more in the context of human design. Open and curious. Love it. Next, excellent. All right. So moving home. Great. Interesting. All right. Well, let's see what we can do. So this, by the way, is a boat. In case you didn't know, this is a boat. And what I want to say with that is where you are right now is a starting point. And just as a boat that sets off from, say, the United States to Europe, if you make a 1 degree change and you sustain that 1 degree change, you are going to end up on a completely different continent. Yes. So my hope for you for today is, and Saturday, is that whatever you get out of this creates at least a 1 degree shift for you that you can then start to multiply, and it creates the change that brings the understanding, the vision, the curiosity, the clarity and direction that you're choosing. All right. So here's your human design chart. Well, actually, this is mine, but hopefully you have your own chart. Here's the human design chart, and you see that there is a lot of information. not only do you have the very colorful information in the center, you've got the rows of numbers, and then you have these keywords at the top. Now, the keywords will give you some information, right? The type, hopefully, when you requested your human design chart from me, whenever that was, you will have received a link with your type. And that will have given you an introduction to what that means in how your energy flows in general. And that's something to start playing with already. If you haven't had that, let me see if I can do this. Oh, look at that, it works. If you haven't gotten that, then I am going to put these links in the chat and you can open them up and watch your little video later, maybe as a reminder. And if you're curious about other types, you know, of your partner, your kids, you can use these same links to get an idea of what their types are. And maybe you can start seeing how that resonates. There are some other keywords in here that we're not really going to deal with as much, but on Saturday, we will get into your incarnation theme, because that is going to help give us information about your purpose. So again, if you were talking about direction, this is very helpful in helping you kind of fine tune what your main goal is in this lifetime. Now, as I mentioned, you'll see a lot of colors. What are all these triangles and squares and numbers and lines all about? Everything in human design has meaning except for the colors, well, most of the colors. That's the question that I get often, like, what are the yellow and the green and the brown and the red? Nobody knows. But what is most important for you to understand is the black lines and the red lines. And the way that shows up in your chart is through those numbers on either side. They're either black or red. Yeah. The black numbers, that information is from the moment of your birth. It's the information that when you look at that, it's what we call your personality. It's your conscious awareness of yourself. Most likely, this information will resonate more easily, more clearly than the other information. The information in red is done with a calculation for about 90 days, 3 months before your birth. This information is unconscious. Now, Shaitan, my mentor, always kind of jokes, like, you can spend years and years in years in therapy to be able to discover all that unconscious and conscious information. But the beautiful thing is that with your human design, you now have access to your unconscious information. Most likely during your lifetime, you become more aware of those things that you do, right? Those little quirks of those things that surprise you, because that's really what happens. It's the information that acts out as you're going about your life, and it just suddenly shows up and like, oh, here's me doing that again, versus, oh, here I am doing this thing. Does that make sense? So the one is more you as you're aware of yourself. The other part is more surprising in how it happens as it shows up. And over time, again, you tend to, hopefully, especially people that are interested in this kind of work, tend to become more aware of those pieces, because you tend to just spend more time looking at, yourself in different ways. So the red and the black. Now, the numbers in the chart, totally not in order. It can be very confusing. So this is where your treasure hunt is going to be focusing on a lot. Like, where is this number that I'm focusing on? So if you at some point feel like you want to learn a lot about human design, it's very helpful to draw this body graph. We call this a body graph. to draw this body graph over and over and over and over. I have drawn hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know how many, a lot, but over and over and over, because what that does is it helps you remember the placement of those numbers, okay? There is an order, but the way that you're looking at this chart like this, it's very difficult to just determine what the order is. But I am here to help you. So let's delve into you. So your personality sun, which is the first number on your right, it has a little circle with a dot in it. I'll show you in my chart right here. That is your personality sun. Now, your personality sun is about 70% of your personality. Now, what do I mean with that? If we would look at your business or your work, this is what we would consider your brand. This is the part that people really recognize about you, you know, your brand and how you are outwardly in the world. It's a big part of how you present yourself and how people see you. Yeah. So what I'd like you to do for a moment is take a look at your sun. Well, actually, we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to show you something else first, and then we'll take a look at that. Each of the centers has a particular function. So in a moment, we are going to determine where your personality sun is located, in which center, okay? So each of the centers has a particular function, and luckily you have this handy dandy little booklet that came with your cards, or you have your app that came with it, because this is where we're going to get playing in your treasure hunt. Okay, so in your app, if you're using the app, you should have this browse images function. Oh, I see a dog. You should have the browse images function open. Now, in the browse images function, you will notice that the first number of images, the first 9 images, are actually the centers, and the same with the cards. So if you're having your human design cards, yeah, the first 9 images all have a Sanskrit symbol at the top. So if you're using the cards, you will see that here. If you're using your phone and the app, you will see that the first number of images will give you the same information. And I just want to make sure that people are tracking. Like this is one. See, they all have that symbol, that Sanskrit symbol at the top. So these are your cards that we're going to be using first. Okay, so I want to check, does anybody have any questions? You can unmute yourself, or you can place your question in the chat, because I want to make sure that this is going to make sense for people.
Yes, what's the name of the app? Can I download it on Google Play?
Not on Google Play. It is an iPhone app, so it is in the Apple Store. So either there or the cards would be most helpful.
So, and the name of the app is?
It's Gates to Soul Wisdom.
Gates to Soul Wisdom. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Raya, this is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. So I'm looking at the cards. You said something about numbers, but the ones that have the symbol in the middle at the top of the card aren't numbered.
Right. Yes. We're first. That's a great question. We're first going to look at these.
So the ones without numbers, but with the symbol in the middle.
Correct.
At the top.
Yes.
And how many of them are there?
There's 9 of them.
Thank you.
Yes, excellent. And these represent all the, here we go, all the centers that we have. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. And anybody else, any questions? Are we all good? Thumbs up? Bueno, very good. Excellent. Okay. So now that you are looking at your, let's see. So you're looking at your chart and you're looking at your sun, and you see that your sun is in a number. I'm going to ask you to write down that number that you have in your chart, because my chart obviously has this 4, and you see that the arrow points to the mind center. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to take a look at your number and see where in your chart you can find it. I'll give you a little time because it can be a little confusing. So if you can't find it, let me know and I will be able to pinpoint it to you. And what I want you to pay attention to is if that number is in a center that is colored in or not. So as you can see, my center is colored in. So make a note of that, if it's colored in or not. And the reason is that it's very important. If it's colored in, it means that you have consistent access to that. Yeah. That center, we'll talk a little bit more about what that means, that particular center for you. But when that center is colored in, you have consistent access to the information that's going on in that center. Yeah. If it is not colored in and you have 70% of your personality in that center, it means that you do not consistently have access to a big part of you. What does that mean? Just think about this, right? Because now you are someone who finds themselves, when I'm with someone, oh my gosh, the sun comes out, right? I get to be someone completely different than when I'm by myself. Does that make sense? That there is a very different experience of yourself when you're with someone, the person who, not everybody, right? Because not everybody will fill that center in for you, but the people who fill that center in for you, you will have a draw to want to spend time with them, whether they're good for you or not. Yeah. So that can be a conditioning component. So you want to be aware of if your center is undefined, especially we'll talk about other undefined centers on Saturday, but especially if your sun is in a center that's undefined, to be aware of the relationships that you have and really check in with yourself. Is this for my highest good? Is this truly serving me? Yeah. So, all right, let's play. So my center is the mind. My sun is in the 4th gate, which is, as you can see, in the top of that mind center. So the mind center, if I grab my handy dandy little booklet, and if you have the app and you press on a particular card, you get the description right there. You see? I don't know if you can read it, but it's right there. Excellent. So in my case, the mind center, and keep in mind that these cards are really focused on the in the moment, right now, this is current, versus the way that we're looking at your human design is like, this is very general, right? So the way that I want you to read the information is, what are the keywords here? Because every description has particular keywords. Sorry, there's a tiny little fly. Every description, the keywords will give you the information that is relevant for you. So in this case, in the mind controls your thinking processes. It's an amazing information bank, able to gather and process all sorts of data. It's a powerful center that can find innovative solutions to the most difficult problems. This has led to the fact that in the current way of the world, people tend to want to make their decisions from the mind and focus on what rational thinking can bring. However, relying exclusively on knowledge over the heart may steer you in the wrong direction in life. When this card shows up, or when this center is defined, you're likely finding yourself confused, trying to find the answer to an issue in a logical way, perhaps even through making lists of pros and cons. However, too much thinking leads to overthinking. The truth will not come to you this way. By seeing things from a distance, you allow your heart to work its magic. It can bring compassion to situations that are not clear, which provides the oil for things to settle. Meditate. Taking space will bring sudden clarifying insights well beyond what the mind can conjure up. So when I initially came to human design, this particular gate was called Youthful Folly. And I was really dismayed that my thinking was called Youthful Folly. And then I sat with that, and then I learned about Chatan's way of describing the gates, which, yes, exactly, Youthful Folly, there you have it. Chatan in his book uses the words mental solutions. Now, exactly. Oh, I love all the resources that you're showing, Micah. It's great. She was just showing the human design book, and she was also showing the card of Youthful Folly. So mental solutions, one of the things that I started to pay attention to was how I showed up in my life with other people. And what I found is that I tend to have a lot of answers for people. People tend to find me for answers, for resources. And I'll even give you answers even if you have no question. Okay, that's how good I am with answers. So what this has taught me over the years is that my mind can come up with all kinds of solutions, but those solutions are not real unless they're actually made practical, unless they actually make sense for people and are able to be utilized, right? Otherwise, it's just me spewing off and giving ideas. And now what I can do is I can actually have a good time with myself, amusing myself, like, oh, that was interesting. That was a very, creative solution that I came up with. Not useful, but creative. So in other words, I'm going to ask you to take a look. Okay, Sarah, great. Thanks for that. Sorry, I got off track for a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to take a look at where your sun is located, in which center. And here again is the map of the centers. So if you locate it in your chart and you find your center, I'm going to ask you to read the description of your center that is in the booklet or in the app. And after you've done that, I'm going to give you a little prompt to write something about. Think about, could this be true for you? And if so, how can it be true for you? And can you think of particular situations or times where this is applicable for you? I apologize. I'm going to put this in the chat for you, the prompts. Here you go. And Sarah, I apologize if I use the wrong information in your chart. After class, I will create a new chart for you. And then you'll have the correct information.
Thank you, Maura. I can't read the names in the chart that you're showing, so I don't know what to look up.
Okay, does this help?
No,
Oh, all right. Can you tell me where in your chart?
I'm in
Do
the
you-
red triangle.
Okay, that's called the heart center.
Oh, I thought you were in the heart center up at top.
No, that is actually the mind.
Oh, the mind. That's right. I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, so just take a moment and read the description, see what jumps out for you. And how can this be true for you? Can you think of particular situations? And this is a good time to connect your mind to that expanded awareness where your intuition resides. Okay. And if you want, you can also take a moment and look up your sun, both the number and the center. And just see what jumps out for you when you're reading that. And I'll give you another minute. Okay. All right. Does anybody have any insights? Does anybody like to share a little bit about what you read and how things might resonate for you? Or maybe you have a question and you're like, it doesn't resonate. How does this work? That's okay too. Yeah, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
So it does resonate. I just I guess this is I'll just ask you. It's like what fear might be holding you back. I have to think about that. But the world is waiting for you to share what you know and believe. And it's like that is a recurring, that definitely resonates. That is a recurring theme. I'm told that often. So I'm wondering if it's in human design, is that the story for the rest of my life, that I will always be in that position of the world is waiting for me? Do you understand my question?
Yep. What is your gate? Your sun gate?
23 throat, 23
23?
one.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I have that same configuration, but not in my sun. So what will always be true for you is that there is an empowering way in how you will voice information. You will assimilate information in a very empowering way to people, but not all the time. There are moments, and I'm sure you recognize this, there are moments when you speak where it doesn't land. It doesn't come out of your mouth right, the timing was off, all of that. And then there are moments when you speak and you get goosebumps and you see people just,
Yes. very
those
true.
sort of, yeah, those are those transformative moments. So that's your personality. That is a part of you that's going to be always coming out. And your job is to recognize, not let the fear hold you back, but recognize when are the right moments where people are available and my mind is tracking well enough that I can speak it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That definitely resonates. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it resonates for me. I have a 5, so it's in the sacrum and it's undefined. And it resonates with me, but I don't like it at all. It's like most of my chart is always that, like, being in the flow, going with the flow. And that's opposite to, well, I think also my incarnation cross. It's like, it looks that, like, the universe take me and I have to experience, like it or not. I definitely resonate with the fact that it's undefined, that when, same for me is my self-center is undefined. So when I'm on my own, I feel sometimes like a tofu, like bland. And then
Plain, bland. Yep.
I meet people and I experience things that I normally would not experience. And then when they go away, for good or for bad, I go back to my tofu. So very little space there. But I mean, having the sun, which is 70% of basically my energy, in an undefined sacrum, where there is about, like, the energy flow, and if I give too much myself away, or how do I relate to the flow of energy? So that worries me, because it's like, how does that leave me in my life, that
Yeah.
aspect?
Yeah. So the 5, as you know, is in the sacral center. And when you read the description of the sacral center, how did that resonate? Because that has the answer in it as well.
Well, maybe they say there is my partner in my life. That's why I catch up, because I was asking about relationship. But it's about, is asking about how am I using my energy? How am I sustaining myself? Is it draining me? And there is very clear. I mean, there are 2 aspects. First of all, I live on my own and I'm very, very isolated. So I'm mostly my tofu, as I was describing it before. And when I meet people, then I might have people that really drain my energy. I have to run away. I cannot stand it. And yes, I have also people that enrich me. But it's almost like, I feel almost that it's not mine, that energy. That
Yes.
I'm, I mean, yeah, it's not, and I'm a projector as well, like take all these things together. It's like, it's not,
Yes.
it's the opposite of what I would like to be, like
Yeah.
strong and,
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
it.
can I pause you there because so I I think it's a funny, interesting description, the tofu bland. I totally get the picture, but I would call you anything but bland. So
Yes.
projectors have this really beautiful way of being able to recognize other people's energy. And yes, I totally get when you say, when I get around some people that have this defined and I feel like I'm not myself. I'm using their energy, which is exactly what you do. And you can use that consciously too, right? Use that kind of energy when you have particular projects that you need to create. You as a projector are really well defined to be able to say, you generator need to go over there. You manifesting generator, you would be best over here to utilize your energy. Like you're that guide. Yeah, you have that insight to be able to bring the right people to the right place. Now with the 5, when that gets defined, you become very structured, and that's the big controversy is not the right word, but every human design chart has a contradiction. So here on the one hand, you have this total flow of you being you in flow of the universe. And here you have that other part that says, but wait, it needs to be this time, da, 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 da. All these different things need to happen. Yeah. So that's your tension to play with and see when you drain yourself or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make me anything happier, though.
Well, compassion and acceptance go a long way. Thank you, Sylvia. Starlight, I thought you had a question too.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say one that I resonate with what Sylvia is saying a little bit because my sun is in my sacral center as well. Although it is defined, I also feel other people's energy a lot, and whether it feels like it's draining or draining me or not. And I guess I just had a yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to sit with these a little bit more. But when I first read it, I was like the 3, because I'm a number 3. My son is in number 3. I feel like this does resonate with me, but I guess I'm wondering like if this is like a cycle that I'm going to be going throughout my life, or if this is a type of thing where it's like I'm going through a big transition in this life and I'm going to get to a place that actually feels less chaotic at some point, or like which I don't know if that makes sense, but do you?
Yeah, totally.
Beginning
Come on, this can't be my life.
all the time. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I love that. So the 3 is not constantly jumping through hoops, but you will at several times in your life create this huge transformation. That's just who you are. Okay.
Okay.
So there will be other times in between, but you will start feeling it build. You will start feeling it build to where it starts to feel like restless and things just don't quite fit anymore. And that's the time where you're kind of realigning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, the more resistance you have against that inwardly, the more, the longer it's going to take, or the more dramatic the transformations will be.
Yeah, and I guess like I don't necessarily feel like I have resistance to the transition or change, but I think I do have resistance to like the chaos that happens to get to the change. It's like I don't mind, like I want to change and be different and have a different perspective and view and all these things, but then I struggle with like being in this period of in between, because there's not much to grasp onto and I don't know what's going to happen and it feels very uncomfortable. So anyway,
Yes.
I don't know. I'm
Yes.
just wondering now. Thanks.
I fully recognize that. And a teacher once told me it's a gift to be in the wonder and delight of uncertainty. Yeah.
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 Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So anybody else, any questions? I know we're getting, yeah, please.
Hi.
Hi.
So my son is in 61.5, so in the crown,
Mhm.
and definitely resonate with, you may find yourself with too many possibilities to choose from. I feel like that kind of almost paralyzes me at times. Like I just like, oh, I'm totally distracted by so many possibilities. And then allowing the messages to come through and wait for the right moment, you'll be present to a most transformative event. And that feels completely resonant with me too. So,
Yeah.
but definitely a lot of confusion around like how to just deal with the masses of information and inspiration that come through. Kind of like
Yes.
get stuck in my mind or my,
Yeah.
I guess my crown.
Is it defined or undefined?
It's undefined.
Okay. Yeah. 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 It's interesting. My husband has the same configuration, and so there is this desire for truth. Yeah, there is this real deep learning, wanting to have truth, and being like you can get even annoyed by people spewing untruth or making up things that they think is inspirational and just like that's a really big part of you. And the most important way for you to recognize which truths are right is to always go back to your inner guidance, and the guidance that comes from, and we'll talk more about that on Saturday, that comes from your strategy.
Mm.
And that is ultimately the part that will let you know which are the real truths that are most important to you to be able to share with others, because you said you have a 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that needs to be shared. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello?
Right. Yes.
Yes,
Joseph?
my son number is 57. It's
Yeah.
in the spleen. The spleen is open, the root is open, the heart is open. And the power
Okay.
center is solar plexus, as far as I know.
Okay. So did you read the description or?
No, I don't have the resources.
Okay. Yeah. So the 57th gate, is the gate of intuition, and the spleen is actually the center of survival in a way that it shows you. It's all about health and well-being and about your survival. So it has this very strong instinctive knowing. Excellent, Sarah. Yes, absolutely. I will send the link for Saturday to everybody. Thanks for being here. And I know people, I'm running a little bit over. If you can stay, that's great. And if not, we'll see you on Saturday. So, so Joseph, the 57th gate of intuition, in the center of intuition, means that you are a person for whom intuition is really important. It's kind of how you lead your life or let your life be guided. And the intuition comes through like little voices that you will hear in your mind. And the voices are in the now. They don't come back. They only will show up right here, right now. If you don't pay attention, it's gone. So that's really important. Now, when it is in an undefined center, it means that for that time, you are going to when you're around other people that fill that center in for you, there is a tendency to want to stay with those people. So there is a consistent question that should inform you with, am I in the right relationship? Am I with the right people? Am I in the right work? All these kind of questions are going to be a continuous repeat for you, because there is such a potential to stay in situations that are unhealthy for you. Okay, because there just happens to be someone who keeps that center defined for you. Does that make sense at all, Joseph?
I don't stay with people if I can avoid it.
Good. That's very healthy for you.
I stay with my cat. She fills my center.
That's good. Yes, yes, that's very healthy for you. We have a few of those on the line.
Okay, thank you.
All right, excellent. So I know we are at the top of the hour, and I had been looking forward to taking you through love and work. So we'll do that on Saturday, and we'll just go a little quicker on Saturday. All right. Has this been helpful to everybody? Yeah, great. All right. Thank you. Well, have a great rest of your day. I will send out the link for Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you all then. We'll continue playing. All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.